that on the graduating point, I'm going to skip over to some of the terms that Ra used. And by the way, to those who are listening, and for you to know, Carla, I'm linking your previous YouTube that you had from a few years ago, and so that kind of gives a well-rounded impression of the law of one, as well as the concept of polarity and so forth. But there are some other terms that were not implicitly explained in that particular
Certainly
YouTube.
the term of graduation is a
Yes.
sticking point for a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people, especially people that were brought up Christian, are very concerned about graduation, because in the Christian form, you either graduate to a heaven or you go to hell. Or you go somewhere in between. Limbo isn't really understood, and it's sort of like a waiting room that goes on forever. I'm not precisely sure about limbo, and I don't think anybody else is. but ascension to a lot of people is like, there are 144,000 people that could ascend, and the rest of us, well, too bad. And that's not the way it is. And then there was this fear that it was all going to happen in one day. And that's not the way it is. It's already happened in one day as far as what happens when, the period of the winter solstice of 2012 was when our Earth clocked into fourth density. We are now receiving fourth density light, which has a huge amount of information in it that third density light cannot hold. When Ra uses the term densities, he's talking about how dense the light is with information. Science has been seeing more and more subatomic particles that they can't explain. And it's because of the fact that we're changing over into fourth density light. And now this is fourth density. Here we are. And those of us who are third density born do not have the DNA to take in all of the information in the light. And if we can get any more of the information, it's hard, because it tells the truth. And the truth is something that we don't like to tell ourselves. We don't like to know our shadow side. We like to know the good things about ourselves, but we don't like to know that we could steal, that under the right circumstances we could kill, that we could be furiously jealous, that we could have destructive and damaging and illegal emotions that would lead us to illegal acts. We don't want to know that. And because we don't want to know that, there's a shadow side of us that has gone unclaimed. And it's like the wolf at the door. If you'll bring the wolf into the kitchen and say, "Beloved wolf, beloved killer, beloved thief, I love you, but I can't work with you unless you'll promise me to work for the light. If you'll come into my arms and let me embrace you, and let me explain to you what I need. You're my guts, you're my grit. I can turn your anger into determination. I can turn the desire to kill into the desire to get it done. I can use every bit of you, but you need to let me assimilate you. And you have to promise to work for the light. And then come and let me hug you and let me love you." And I'm sorry, it brings me to tears.
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable. I understand
it's so
personal
so
work.
important.
Yeah.
And when you can finally accept yourself, you can begin to assimilate these parts of yourself that are unlovely, and you can begin to make them lovely. You can begin to bring them into the light. so that you have less and less about which to worry in terms of impulse. What you're wanting to do is to know yourself, know all of yourself, know every bit of yourself, to accept yourself, to forgive yourself, and to fall in love with yourself. And when you fall in love with yourself, and you realize in falling in love with yourself, you're falling in love with a person that is obviously imperfect.
Yeah.
Give it up, folks. This is why we're here. If we were perfect, we would not be doing time on planet Earth. Planet Earth is boot camp. This is not easy.
You had a little thing on Wanderer's Handbook that really caught my eye. It kind of speaks to that effect. It says, this reversal of attitude and embrace of the suffering of processing catalyst delivers to the seeker her own inner child again, which is, I can so relate to that, because when you get to that very tender spot of acceptance, as you face that shadow self, you're free, and it's so. I don't even have a word for it, but it's so delightful to find the face of that child whom we left behind.
Well, we did, and we forgot how to dance.
Yeah.
And we forgot how to sing, and we got self-conscious, and we forgot that we were wonderful.
Yes.
And when you remember how wonderful you were as a kid, and you get back there and you reclaim that, and yes, you are that child, and you have matured sweetly, not bitterly, and you have brought that child into your maturity, and you can dance, and you can sing, and you can fly.
Yeah.
And then you can see the soul of everybody else, and how they, no matter what they're acting like, are the creator too, and they are also beautiful. And you relate to that soul, to that child within, if you will, that person within that was so perfect before we began having to survive, before we had to find behaviors that would enable us to survive childhood. There are things that parents do and teachers do and other people of authority, whatever they may be, older sisters, whoever might be in the position of bullying us, hurting us, abusing us. And as we learn to be safe with them, we stifle, we hide, we repress, we don't express. It's not safe to express what we think. It's not safe to express what we want. And so little by little, we hide from ourselves. And we grow up, and we're not the person that we really, really could be. We need to find that again.